Hey everyone, it's J-Belle with another video on Geeky Vices, where I talk about whatever random bits of geekdom or pop culture I've been into lately. These are just unedited stream of consciousness videos, so enjoy the ride. Those of you who have watched some of my earlier videos, you probably noticed that there is now actual stuff on the wall. Here's the thing. In the rest of my apartment, there's stuff all over the place, but just as far as like where the computer setup, it's normally that closet door is normally open, and you would just be staring at cleaning supplies and the litter box. And I'd rather not do that to the internet to have people stare at my cat's litter box, especially if the cat decided to go in there. That would be awkward. So yeah, I just put up some random posters up there, like they're just random freebies. So yeah, it looks less empty. And you probably wonder why the shelves back there are usually empty. And I occasionally I'll put something up, but honestly, those are the kitty shelves. Like they're intentionally empty for him, so that way he can run up and down them. So, and that's why sometimes you'll see a cat back there. But yeah, I don't usually have stuff up there because he would otherwise be knocking things over all the time, which I don't want, especially for things I actually care about. So yeah, just a little look into my life for you guys. So anyways, this video I'm going to talk about Lucifer, which I just got into. It's been added onto Netflix recently, I believe. There's 3 seasons. I believe I heard it's going to be, I think it was canceled, but I think it's going to be picked up by Netflix. Don't quote me on this. I think this is just me trying to remember. One of these days I'll actually do research before my videos, but that's part of the joy, how raw and authentic my videos are, because I am totally unprepared, and as I said, I don't censor these down or anything, so you can enjoy my verbose ramblings. So the concept behind Lucifer, and I believe it's based off of a Neil Gaiman like comics on him, because I always see that as in the credits it talks about inspired by characters by Neil Gaiman and a few other names, but that's the only one I know, even though I've never read anything by Neil Gaiman, even though I should. But Lucifer has decided to go on vacation from being in charge of hell, and has taken up residence in Los Angeles, because the City of Angels totally makes sense for the devil to hang out in. And he has this very high-end nightclub called Lux, which I think is appropriate, like it being called Light, considering how he's the morning star and everything. And yeah, and the thing is that he is basically having like this is just rowdy, heathenistic lifestyle where it's like, okay, he's having sex with whoever he wants, both men and women. Although it's mostly women, but he is willing. He is openly bisexual and perfectly attracted to plenty of men. Definitely has plenty of vices as far as like alcohol and drugs and such, and he just basically believes in like free will and people following their desires. And his other big thing is that he grants favors for people. So this one girl, like this little Hollywood starlet, or no, she's not a starlet, she was a singer, like that he had done a favor for, like she ends up dying shortly after visiting him, and he ends up getting involved with the investigation because he feels guilty, and he ends up being Detective Chloe Decker. And the thing is that this incarnation of Lucifer, he's not the stereotypical one. Like he's definitely very selfish, and like he's very self-absorbed. He's very much like has very little filter. But a couple things about him is that, one, he prides himself on the fact that he does not lie. He'll let people he'll carefully word things, or he'll let people come to the wrong conclusions, but he does not lie. He tells people all the time that he is the devil, but people just don't generally believe him. But also, another thing about them is that he very much takes punishing those who are guilty very seriously. Like bringing people to justice and vengeance are very important concepts to him. So, because that was pretty much what he did. Like he didn't choose who would go to hell. He would be basically the person who would be punishing the people who were sent to hell. So, yeah, and he has major daddy issues for understandable reasons. And yeah, but anyways, he works with this detective, like for shown. He ends up being very useful because in addition to him just being super well connected, and sometimes he has like interesting insights, even though he doesn't frequently make the investigation about himself, he has one his clearly magical abilities that he can ask people, like look people in the eyes and ask them what do they most desire, and they'll tell him. And so basically they can't lie to him when he does that, and that's a lot of times like gives important insight into like whether or not someone actually did commit the murder, or just like into their character. And anyways, and this becomes a recurring thing where he works with this detective throughout the series. In case you can tell from the little hints I accidentally dropped, that yeah, he basically helps murder investigations, even though he's not a cop or anything, because of his unique skill set. And he keeps on working with Chloe Decker, who she was a child actress at some point because her mom is a famous actress, and she basically had this infamous movie, Hot Tub High School, where she took off her shirt, and that's been held against her. But her dad was a cop who got shot, and so she decided to follow in his footsteps. But she is the one person who is immune to Lucifer's abilities. Like, she's not sexually drawn to his magnetism, because like that's part of his thing, is that almost people are just, especially women especially, but I also like gay men are definitely like drawn to him, very, very much attracted to him. The fact that he can ask people what their desires are, so like very much they are drawn to him. And the thing is that Lucifer is also, since he's a fallen angel, like he's immortal and he can't be injured, except for he finds out when he's around Chloe. So he's very much like fixated on her. And the thing is that Chloe doesn't believe that he's the devil, even though he will say it up front that he's the devil. But she does come to care for him, and they get assigned to work as partners. And she sees that he does care about like bringing murderers to justice, and that she can see past like all of his personas, like basically all the over the topness, to see like that he does care very deeply about like people not getting harmed, and that he's not a bad guy. He just, as I said, he's self-absorbed, and a lot of times he'll take insights from the case or make the cases about him. Like, it's like, oh, this person felt like this, and it somehow relates to him somehow, always in his head. But yeah, some other major characters. There's Dr. Linda Martin, who I love, and I hope they never write out, because she's one of my favorite characters. She's a psychiatrist that Lucifer starts off the show like paying her with sex, but eventually she cuts him off, and they become friends. And she's I like her a lot. I like that. I always like that actress. But yeah, she's always very smart and insightful, and I think she's better when she's finally realized that Lucifer isn't just talking in metaphors. There's Mazikeen, who is a demon who came with Lucifer from hell. She starts off the series as a bartender, later becomes a bounty hunter, later becomes Chloe's roommate. Yeah, she's also known as Maze. She's crazy, knife-wielding, like assassin type. But basically, she'll do anything to protect Lucifer, even from himself. But I'll go into my feelings about Maze in a bit. Other characters, let's see. There's Amenadiel, Lucifer's brother, the firstborn, who keeps on trying to bring Lucifer back to hell, and who is he's not the bad guy. He's a lot of times an adversary. Like, sometimes they're working together, sometimes they're working against each other. But like, he definitely adds an interesting dynamic, and I do love believe his name's Robin Woodside. I remember that I can't remember, I think that's his name. I just remember that he was the principal in the last season of Buffy, and I loved his character. And I think there's like some kind of interesting similarities to their characters, where it's like sometimes he's so convinced he's doing the right thing when actually he's sometimes doing the wrong thing for the right reasons, or vice versa, the right thing for the wrong reasons. Like how sometimes his imposing his morality is not helping the situation, which, as I said, I find that very interesting. As I said, I loved him as the principal in 7th season of Buffy. One of the best things about that season, because that was definitely one of the weaker seasons of the series. But yeah, he's great. Let's see who else. There's Detective Espinoza, who is Chloe's ex-husband, who they kind of like on and again, off again, and eventually like finally off relationship. And they have their daughter Trixie, who's adorable. and she's one of those like it's one of those like kid characters where she's a lot of times like a troublemaker or a smart mouth or something, or like where she's way too sneaky. But yeah. Anyways, it's interesting how Lucifer very much fixates with Chloe and like will do anything to protect her, partially because like she is so undoubtedly good and she does care for him, and part of it's like his fixation, and part of it is the fact that he is very fascinated by the fact that she does make him physically vulnerable. Like he physically bleeds, like he can get shot, he can get hurt around her physically. And I think there's different theories about why. It just, I don't know if it's just her or because like emotionally he's vulnerable around her or what it is. Like they do reveal more information about her down the line about what makes her special. But yeah, she's interesting. I guess she's one of those people who very much is unquestionably, she is a good person. Like she very much holds people to a high standard, and if you betray her, like as far as it's hard to regain her trust. And she tends to also be very much a little bit too fixated on her job, like has a hard time making friends, which is part of why I think she becomes such good friends with Maze and Dr. Linda later on. And also Ella, when Ella gets introduced later. She's a uberly cheerful forensic scientist who I think was a good addition to the group chemistry. But yeah, she's interesting. Yeah. So some of my personal opinions, I really like Lucifer. He's super charming. It is funny when they point out that, like, the people who do, when they hear that Amenadiel, who's this bald black guy, and Lucifer, who is clearly not a bald black guy, who has a British accent, like how they're brothers when, like, they look nothing alike, and they have very different accents, and yeah, it's kind of one of those moments of disbelief for people. But yeah, Lucifer, yeah, the casting's great. Although I wish they wouldn't have him sing as much, because I think his voice is fine, but I think his enunciation sometimes gets a little bit in the way for me, which is usually not a problem for me, but there's something about his enunciation where I'm just like, no, if you're singing a cover of a song, just let me listen to the original. Nothing wrong with your voice, it's just, you're not doing it as good. Yeah, as I said, I love Dr. Linda. I think Ella is adorable. I do have issues with, and I do like Amenadiel, like, although it's just sometimes I'm just like, really, you're doing this again? But I do get really annoyed with Maze, because I feel like they keep on I feel like, so Maze starts off as a bartender, and she gets really anxious and like basically fidgety and basically restless with like Lucifer's change in life. Like it's just not just in partying. Like I think the fact that he's changing affects her, and like she keeps on doing things like she very much like is about people not betraying her, but she's the one that's most likely to betray someone and scheme against them. And I get kind of just over her angst. Like second season they did it. First season they did it. Second season, they made her a bounty hunter. Third season, they thought they were going to write her because she was almost never around. And then when she came back, she was just super angsty. And I'm just like, I'm just over it. I'm just tired of her doing the betrayal thing and just not being happy and just like bringing all these problems upon herself because she's lashing out at people and like people like bending backwards to make her happy. And then her being like, you don't deserve me. So yeah, I think that the casting setting, I think she's an interesting character. I just think I don't like what they've done with her. Like, I'm over the angst. Let's see. And I do find that the adversaries for each of the seasons very interesting. First season is mostly Amenadiel. Second season, I'm not going to spoil. The character was very interesting. And when you thought that a major actress was written out, like she was not going to be returning third season, they brought her back in an interesting way. Although I feel like it was some ways very similar, but still, you could tell that they didn't want that actress gone. And then third season, they bring Tom Wellington, who, aka Clark Kent from Smallville, which kind of makes me happy. Although it's weird seeing him be so middle aged now, because I'm so used to him being Smallville age, where he's not. Where it's like, wait, you got old. Although I guess Smallville was like 20 years ago, but still. I'm not mentally used to you not being youthful anymore. And I will find it amusing. There was a point where they mentioned his kryptonite, and it just makes me smile and happy because Smallville references, I'm sure. And also, oh, there's a random episode where Lucifer decides not to sleep, and he watches all 11 seasons of Bones in like a couple days, and so he's getting his grip on reality, and they show a clip of Bones, which I love the series Bones, although I haven't finished the last season, because I love a good crime solving drama. But yeah, like he'll tell Deckard's like, oh, you're the Booth, you're the Booth, I'm clear the Bones of us, and like he'll get things confused about with reality and what happened in the series in Bones, because they actually, one of their suspects is someone who was an actor in Bones. So it was funny how like they tied that in, and yeah, that was just a little thing that made me happy. It's like it doesn't make a difference. I don't know if both of them were on Fox or not, if they were on the same network or not. I mean, that would make sense, but it somehow made me, the geek in me just was so happy with that. And yeah, I said I love a good crime series. I will watch pretty much any style. Like I like the uber serious ones like CSI or Bones, like the more like the sciencey ones. I like the ones where it's just, I mean, I like a lot of the classic ones like Murder, She Wrote and Diagnosed Murder, and I used to watch Columbo with my mom. Yeah, Lucifer is a good series. Like, it is interesting, but like honestly, a lot of times the crimes, they're not as clever as far as who did it. Like, a lot of times it's pretty like, I would say 19 out of 20 times I can tell who did it when they show up. So it's just, and usually I think, and so a lot of it's more so about the overarching storyline and the character dynamics, and kind of like how tying that into what's going on with the crime of the day, versus making the crime of the day like super elaborate and complex. And it's just like, nope, a lot of times it's like, it's an interesting premise, but like the actual solve or the number of suspects you go through, it's like it doesn't take that many to actually get to to reveal who the bad guy is. Like, or at least for me, like I tend to have pretty good instincts, but like, yeah, it was probably this guy. But yeah, I will say I do like how it's set in Los Angeles, and it takes advantage of the fact that it's in Los Angeles and the fact there is all this entertainment industry people, or the fact that there are beaches and such. So yeah, it's a good series. I definitely recommend it. I haven't quite finished third season, but I am close, and I really do hope the series continues, because it is great and such good casting. Let me think. What would be a good comparable series? If you also enjoy this, I would say, probably a little bit Lost Girl, which I know I mentioned pretty recently as a suggestion, but yeah, I'll have to mull that over, but because I don't know that many Judeo-Christian like angel shows besides Supernatural, and I would say this is a different vibe from Supernatural, because it's more lighthearted. Like, there's main characters are not dying as frequently like as they do in Supernatural, and being brought back through elaborate means. So yeah. Anyways, enjoy. I hope you guys consider watching Lucifer and continue enjoying your own geeky vices. Until next time, I'll see you guys later. Bye.